Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Shoulda Gone Pro podcast. We are back after another eventful weekend that is, of NFL football. We have our Super Bowl matchup. It is official, and let me just say, I need to know where in the world Brock got this from. Like, you should go buy a lottery ticket or something, man, because the Cincinnati Bengals in overtime upset the Kansas City Chiefs to everyone except for Kansas City's delight. I mean, I think everyone in the country, pretty much except for KC, was rooting for the Bengals there, and the Rams pulling out a fourth quarter comeback, typical Stafford fashion, and getting their trip to the Super Bowl as well, which will be at their home stadium. But exciting weekend again for football, Brock. How you feeling?
Yeah, the only takeaway I have is I'm angry that I hopped off the bandwagon before when I did. I should have just stayed on. It's going to cost me a little bit of money. I did promise I would get the Burrow jersey. I'm gonna stick to my word. I'm gonna stick to my word. It will be coming shortly. I just have to maybe save up a little bit of money before I make that pull the trigger on that purchase. They were a little pricey, but no, great weekend. Yeah, I mean, honestly, this entire playoffs really since the divisional round, it's been, I think, all you can ask for. Teams have played great. There's been some tremendous matchups, some incredible upsets, if you want to say. I mean, San Francisco went on the road and beat two of the better teams in the NFC. And I mean, the ride that Cincinnati's on right now to win. I think it's just so impressive, to win that first game at home, like, and then to go on the road back-to-back weeks in hostile environments. I mean, Tennessee was rocking. Arrowhead was so loud yesterday. I can only imagine what it was like playing in that stadium. But I really think the Bengals, win or lose in this Super Bowl, they are so ahead of schedule right now. I
Oh
mean, there
yeah,
was a meme before the season. It was Burrow and Jamar Chase driving around one of the carts at training camp, and it said like on the way to fourth place in the NFC
yeah.
North or AFC North. And to think that the turnaround that they've had, I mean, they lost to the Bears in week 3 this year. It just doesn't make any sense. I will say, kind of a trend here, interestingly enough. Tampa Bay lost to Chicago last year, Super Bowl champs. Cincinnati lost to the Bears this year in the Super Bowl. There's a chance. I don't know what that omen means. I don't know how the Bears
Well,
can.
it's even more of a coincidence because the Bears don't beat many people. So
No, yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. But yeah, no, I think Cincinnati definitely ahead of schedule. This is all the playoff experience they would need. And I mean, to think that Joe Burrow's making his Super Bowl appearance in just his second season. Really, I mean, really a year and a half. He missed so much time last year with that knee injury. It's just incredible what he's been able to do, and just keep Cincinnati alive. I mean, it's just incredible. It's really, I mean, if they win this Super Bowl, I mean, how much more storybook is that? These guys were underdogs all year long, and I think Joe Burrow even said before the Kansas City game after they beat Tennessee, he's like, we're sick of being underdogs. Like, we're a good football team, and they showed it. And you have to, I mean, in the playoffs, if you're not the number 1 or 2 seed, you're going to have to go on the road at some point. And to think that they're already with this terrible of an offensive line and a young team able to go into a place like Arrowhead. And I thought their defense played honestly tremendous in this game, and especially in
yeah.
the second half, making the
Hmm.
adjustments. And I mean, underrated play of the game, I think Von Bell right before halftime, stopping Tyreek Hill on the 1 yard line, not letting him get in. I mean, if you go into halftime down 28-3, that's pretty demoralizing. I mean, I realize 21-3 is no better, but play of the game, really and truly, it won on the game, honestly.
Yeah. Um, that was kind of the turning point that I saw as well. Their offense hadn't really done a lot, and Uzama got hurt. They were shutting down Jamar Chase a lot of that first half. Mixon was really one of the few bright spots of the offense in the first half, and then the defense for most of the first half was just getting shredded. Um, up until Eli Apple of all people makes the tackle on Tyreek Hill at the 1 yard line.
Oh, it was yeah.
And
I thought it was Von Bell. That's my fault. That's my fault.
oh no, no, you're good. Von Bell did have a lot of tackles in that game, so I understand where you're coming from. But um, sorry, but it was that was kind of the turning point because if they would have got in again, it would have busted the game even more open. Um, and hey, what was I gonna say? I lost my train of thought for a second. That's embarrassing. Um, but yeah, that was kind of. Oh, I know what I was gonna say because they thought they had an extra timeout, or at least Mahomes did. 'Cause he was calling for a timeout when Tyreek got tackled at the 1 yard line, but because they challenged that play earlier in the I think it was in the first quarter that uh, Andrew Reid used a timeout and then challenged, which cost them the two timeouts. And so if they would have sold that one timeout, if they might have scored again, they would have got a field goal or something, and that would have changed a lot in this ball game because it came down to overtime for a game to be decided. But I think the X factor was the Bengals defense in that second half. Um, I mean, including overtime, they ended up getting two picks off of Mahomes, which in the playoffs, even getting one is unheard of. And they got two off of them, one of them by a defensive tackle of all people. Um, that's they needed to play the kind of game where those things just kind of go your way, and that's exactly what happened in the second half for them. Um, just some of those things where they're these 50-50 plays where anything can happen. That's kind of what the Bengals needed to happen to them, and it worked out well. Jamar Chase really heated up in the second half. Joe Burrow was using his legs a lot on third downs to get some first to keep drives moving. Joe Mixon played a pretty solid game. He kept their run game going pretty well. I was surprised by how well the Bengals O-line played, especially in the second half. They were giving Burrow enough time to find his targets, because that was a really big concern going into this game, especially after how they played against the Titans and they allowed Joe Burrow just to get sacked over and over again. And Joe Burrow's just a straight winner. I mean, it, down 21-3 at one point in a game in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. I mean, it's so easy to just to fall apart there. And once they got momentum, they just kept pushing that momentum. They ended up getting that Jamar Chase uh, Moss touchdown in the corner, and then they got the 2-point conversion. And when they started to get things rolling, I mean, they looked like as good a team that we'd seen all year out of anybody. So um, they only allowed 3 points in the second half of the Chiefs' offense. So major props to the Bengals defense for that, which we thought might have been a concern coming into this game. They ended up playing really well, and McPherson obviously doing what he does. But I mean, even when the coin toss happened, I know you were probably thinking it too, that when the coin toss happened and the Chiefs won it, we were like, here we go again, repeat of the Bills game, and they're gonna get a triple Super Bowl because of a coin toss. And the Bengals defense said these NFL OT rules aren't that bad, and then they got the stop. Ended up getting the interception. Mahomes just looked rattled, which he really ever does. The rush was for defense for the Bengals was a lot better in the second half as well. It was like a whole different team pretty much. It felt like it was just like two different games put together really. Um, I mean, Trey Hendrickson was just getting in the backfield consistently and making Mahomes run around. I mean, they were about to score. They were down like the 1 yard line with 30 seconds left, and they got sacked twice and pushed them all the way back to make it like a decently long field goal. That's definitely not a gimme. And I mean, the Bengals just did everything absolutely right. Credit to that coaching staff for the adjustments in the second half, because it'd be so easy to just go in the halftime and give your speech, but not make those kind of adjustments that you think you might need to do. And I know I really enjoyed it. I know you obviously really enjoyed it. I was smiling. We had our episode last week about you getting the Burrow jersey, and I'm looking forward to seeing that when that comes in, hopefully by the time of the Super Bowl. But yeah, it was pretty sweet. I mean, it kind of all started. This whole season started with them having a top 5 pick and picking Jamar Chase, and everyone was hating on it because they were saying Penei Sewell's got to be their pick, and then they go out and they kind of hit their ground running this whole season. So really cool to see this new face in there. They haven't been to the Super Bowl since '88. Don't believe they ever won one. I think they ran into Montana and Jerry Rice too much and weren't able to get one done. So that would be cool to see them get one. I thoroughly enjoyed that game, and I think everyone except for Kansas City fans did as well. So that was pretty
Yeah,
sweet.
no, I was sweating at halftime. I mean, down 18, I was like, I was worried about blowout territory, because, like you said, I mean, they don't have any playoff experience. It would have been so easy for them to go in the locker room, get fired up, come back out. Kansas City scores one more time, something bad goes Cincinnati's way, and you really think all the game's over. But that stop before halftime, it really was huge. I think it did change the game. And you mentioned, I think the announcers kept talking about it, those 50-50 balls, those jump balls, who's going to make the plays. It felt like in the first half, Kansas City was the one making those plays. I mean, Mahomes was running around out of the pocket. He was able to do whatever he wants. The two plays in the red zone, those throws to Tyreek Hill where he whipped it sidearm in between a tiny little window and hit him in the back of the end zone. And then the one to Kelsey, just getting around making plays. Kansas City was not able to do any of that really in the second half. It felt like every time on a big third down, Mahomes was targeting Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey all game. And there was a couple of times, credit to Cincinnati, they played tremendous defense, made it a tough catch, and they weren't coming down with it. And that just started to, I agree. I really do think that Mahomes looked pretty uncomfortable down the stretch. That pick he threw was very uncharacteristic. I mean, it's just unfortunate, just uncharacteristic. And then I thought he blew the game in the fourth quarter. He took that sack and he fumbled it. And it was, I think it was in the red zone. Yeah, made it like a 40, 50-yard field goal for Bucker to send it to overtime, which is brutal. But I mean, credit to him for making the kick. But yeah, I mean, Mahomes just looked uncomfortable late in the fourth quarter in a time you just don't see. You don't use the word Patrick Mahomes and uncomfortable late in the football game together in the same sentence very often. And I mean, whatever Cincinnati was able to, I don't want to say figure out their offense, but I mean, in a sense, throw them off their game. I think they were a lot more physical with Kansas City in the second half. They weren't just letting them get out of their routes and get into their breaks quickly. And I mean, it completely different looking Kansas City offense in that second half. And I thought it was a little strange that I thought Kansas City ran the ball pretty well in the first half for the most part. And they kind of went away from it up in that ball game in the second half. I thought it was pretty strange. I mean, I get it. You have an all-world quarterback back there, but I mean, Cincinnati really showed no propensity to stop the run in the game. I thought Kansas City would have leaned on it a little bit more and sprinkled in some play action. But yeah, I mean, it's incredible. I mean, I was telling one of my friends today, I was like, I can't imagine how many people went into this season picking Matt Stafford and the Rams and Joe Burrow and the Bengals to make to be in the Super Bowl right now. I mean,
yeah,
it's crazy. I think before the season, the Bengals had some of the longest odds to win or to make the Super Bowl at all. I mean, they had crazy long odds to even win their own division. And to think about the way this team's came together, all this young talent has meshed together so well. And I mean, get excited, Cincinnati, because this is not going to be anything new. I mean, if you can just continue to keep improving that roster, re-sign your key guys, get an offensive line. I mean, the sky is really the limit. You got taken to the Super Bowl by a second-year quarterback, a rookie wide receiver, a horrible offensive line, and a young and improving defense. And I mean, it's only up from here as long as Burrow can stay healthy, which obviously you hope so. If they can keep mixing Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, they have so many good weapons. It's crazy to think about it. I mean, how many teams can you list off that have an all-pro caliber running back in Joe Mixon, 3 tremendous receivers? I mean, Jamar Chase is otherworldly. And I mean, you got to give T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd some credit. They were coming up with some really good catches and important times in that game. And I mean, Uzama, hopefully he's okay. I saw him coming out of the locker room on crutches. Probably doesn't bode well for him in the Super Bowl. But I mean, even him, I mean, that's crazy that they have 3 tremendous wide receivers, a great young tight end, and a great young running back to couple with Joe Burrow. I mean, they have so many weapons. And if they can improve that offensive line and keep building on that defense, this team's going to be – it's crazy to think what they can accomplish with what they've already accomplished this year.
No, you're right. I think people kind of overlooked them a little bit, mostly because the defense had some question marks about coming together and everything. And we weren't sure how Burrow was going to be after that major injury. I mean, you see a lot of dudes that have major stuff like that and just are not able to come back 100% of themselves. And Burrow has done exactly that. He's come back possibly even better than he was before. I think the big thing in this game was we haven't mentioned Cincy's defense in the second half, but I really noticed that a lot of the situations for KC in the first half, when they weren't able to find Tyreek or Kelsey down the field, which they were pretty frequently. Is they would dump it off to McKinnon on these little dump off routes, or McKinnon was really getting these good pushes up the middle. And he's so fast, it would get him easy like 7-8 yards when they didn't have anything open. But the Bengals were just shutting down the drop off passes. Mahomes was just kind of taking what defense was giving him in the first half, and it was working out well because they would go down to McKinnon, and then they'd switch over and you throw it to Hill or Kelsey. So it was kind of pick your poison. But in the second half, they really clamped up. They were a lot more aggressive, which I've realized in the Super Bowl last year against Tampa and in this game against Cincy, both of those defenses facing Kansas City got a lot more aggressive. And I feel like you have to get aggressive against that team to kind of push Mahomes' boundaries and make him make quick decisions. Because a lot of the passes he was throwing, I mean, I don't know if they were running more man than zone in the second half compared to the first half, but it really felt like it. And they were really – a lot of these passes that they were throwing were contested because Kelsey can just get open so easily, and same with Tyreek, and it just didn't seem like they got open at all in the second half. So if I'm another team, obviously we're not going to see the Chiefs play for a while, but if I'm the D coordinator for a team playing the Chiefs, I'm going to be aggressive all the way. Even if their O-line has gotten better, I'm still sending some heavy blitzes and trusting my guys to man up in the secondary. But that's what I kind of noticed as a difference. So we'll see if they keep that similar philosophy against the Rams, who have this really high-powered offense as well, with guys all over the place. Not as good of a run game, but receivers galore. So I heard Uzama as well as Higbee, who got hurt for the Rams, both the starting tight ends. I heard they were still kind of up in the air as far as their status for Super Bowl. So that was something to keep an eye on because those are two huge guys. Although I thought both of their backups played great when they had to come in their games this weekend as well. So, but yeah, the Bengals have kind of just defied the rebuild process and just took a next step forward and beat the Mega Chiefs. So, pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Mahomes signed that massive contract extension. I don't know if it was this. I think it was 2 off seasons ago. The 12-year, $500 million contract. That's, I mean, obviously well worth it. The guy's an incredible talent. But I remember all the sports analysts and sports writers were debating, how many more Super Bowls is Mahomes going to win in that time period? Like, they got him for 12 years. If they can continue to be smart with their money and surround him with talent, like, it's going to be like 4 or 5. And I think it just really goes to show you. I mean, he's in year 4, and they have one that he's got 1 Super Bowl. And I mean, 1-1 in the Super Bowl, you can't scuff that. I'm not trying to say that, but I think my point is, I think people don't realize how hard it is to win the Super Bowl, let alone make it year after year. And I mean, Kansas City's enjoyed a nice little run of success. I mean, hosting 4 straight AFC Championship games is nothing to scoff at. And what Mahomes has done already in his young career is great. But I mean, it's tough to say. There's so much great talent in the AFC at quarterback, and even in the NFC too. I mean, not nearly as stacked in terms of the young talent, but there's talent on both sides of the divisions. And I mean, Mahomes isn't going to. And he saw it this year. He's not going to be able to cakewalk and breeze through the AFC and the NFC like they did when they won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. They're going to run into some stiff competition. And I mean, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens, because I think everyone was like, the Chiefs are this unstoppable force. Who's going to be able to knock them off? Like, they got Mahomes set up. They are smart with their money. They've got all these great players. He's just going to cakewalk to 4 or 5 more Super Bowls. And I just don't think that's the case. I mean, I think the emergence of Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, not on the same level, but in Derek Carr, if Las Vegas can figure out what they're doing, Trevor Lawrence, if Jacksonville can ever get out of their own way. But I mean, there's just, I didn't even mention Lamar Jackson. I mean, like, it's crazy to think how stacked the AFC is. And I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Mahomes is there for another 9 years and they only get another Super Bowl or 2. I mean, yeah, you can obviously be happy with that, but I definitely don't think it's going to be near on the level or live up to some of those super high expectations that people had before he signed that contract. Because it's hard. I mean, you saw Tampa Bay this year; they got ravished by injuries to keep everyone healthy throughout an entire season. It's hard. I mean, you're playing a physical sport. for 18 weeks. Then you get into the playoffs, you really don't get all that much rest unless you're the 1 seed. It's tough. I mean, credit to the Chiefs. I mean, making it to four straight championship games in and of itself is super impressive. And I mean, they'll be back next. They'll be back next year in the exact same spot. They're not going anywhere as long as they have Mahomes, Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill on that great offensive line. The Chiefs are going to be a 12-5, 13-4 team for years to come.
No, yeah, you're right. I don't want people to start overreacting to this game, and say, oh, the Chiefs have problems they have to fix, because you're exactly right. There's just an overload of talent compared to what there was 3 or 4 years ago when they first started making their runs. To the point now where I feel like almost every team in the playoffs there, except for the Steelers, really could have given anybody a run at some point. Maybe the Pats aren't totally there yet on offense, but that top 5 was a lot to deal with. So yeah, and it seems like every year there's less QB busts that are coming in. I feel like a lot of the number 1 picks now, Baker's kind of iffy, I think, in my opinion, but everybody else has kind of come in and played well. And when everyone's living up to their expectations as far as their talent level, I mean, it makes things a lot harder. I mean, there was I believe when they went to the Super Bowl and won, I believe they played the Titans in the AFC Championship game. I think they played the Bills last year, and then the Titans the year before. And that Titans team wasn't as good, in my opinion, as the Titans team this year. And the Chiefs had 2 straight overtime games in the playoffs, which you almost never see happen. I mean, it just feels like everyone thought that the Chiefs were kind of like the Warriors with KD for a couple of years in the NBA, where you know who's going to win, but you just wanted to see who they're going to play, because I mean, it was kind of ridiculous. And I don't think it's going to necessarily be the case. I've thought that before this game, and this game kind of solidifies that even more for me now. So I don't think that it's going to be one of the situations where it's going to be Cavs Warriors for a bunch of years, in the NFL. So definitely exciting for a more neutral fan in that regard. But and it just kind of puts testament to these guys who have been to so many. I mean, just even going to that many, like you said about Mahomes, is impressive, and it puts into perspective stuff with Brady and Manning and all those guys who have held this excellence for so long, about how hard it is to really keep that going. I mean, Brady brought them back from a 27-3 comeback against the Rams. They lost in the end, but it was he started trying to do everything, and you can't do everything in football. So, but yeah, the Chiefs will be around for a long time, for sure. And if I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm sad that we lost, but no need to overreact.
Yeah, it's like Alabama fans in college. Like, geez, guys, give someone else a year here. You don't. It's not year every year. You can take a year off, and I mean, like it's just it's incredible. I mean, it's impressive what they're able to do year in and year out. And I mean, yeah, I think they're going to be back next year. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what else there really is to say. I mean, they had a great season. Their defense started to play well down the stretch. I mean, they have some great players on both sides of the ball. I just think for Kansas City, definitely, I mean, shoring up the defense any way you can. I think you have enough offensive talent. Maybe another secondary wide receiver. I think that's where Cincinnati really separated themselves, I think, from on offensively from Kansas City, was when you take away Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs. Yes, they still have Travis Kelce, but who else do they really have? I think Mecole Hardman, more of a speed guy, not really proven yet. Same with Byron Pringle. And then I think when you look at the Bengals on the other side, they shut down Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins came up with some huge catches. Tyler Boyd, huge catches. And then that opened the door for Jamar Chase to get going. And I think that's encouraging if you're Cincinnati, that you do have three good playmaking receivers like that. And I think the running back that they drafted out of LSU in the first round, 2019, I think he's had a bit of a rough start to his NFL career. But I mean, really, they have so much talent at other positions, and that offensive line is incredible. And if they can, I think if they can get another guy to pair with Tyreek Hill on the outside or in the slot, I think that's only going to help Kansas City and make that offense a little bit more explosive. Because I really do think, I think losing Sammy Watkins a couple years ago was honestly really and really underrated loss for the Chiefs. Because I mean, Sammy Watkins was a former first round pick out of Clemson,
Yeah.
and I mean, he's a good player. He don't get drafted in the first round for no reason. And I mean, he's had a little bit of an up and down NFL career, bounced around the last couple of years. But I think, I mean, when you have another good receiver to pair like that like with as good of a receiver as Tyreek Hill is, he does have a little bit of limitations. I mean, he's 5'10", 5'11". He's not
Mhm.
really going to be a jump ball 50-50 guy threat. He's just going to kill you with his speed, which is fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's incredible to see what he can do over the middle of the field and just flat out run by guys. But I think Kansas City definitely needs to look for another big bodied wide receiver like a Sammy Watkins, either in free agency or in the draft, that they can put on the outside opposite from Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Because wait, do I supposed to sound okay? Because my AirPods just died, so I'm good. Okay. Um, but yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's hard to nitpick about this Chiefs offense, but I think if they were to do anything, I think you're right. I think that if I was them, my main focus would be getting some depth on their defense. Um, having some guys that can come in the secondary to kind of shore that up. They have some good talent out there, but I think that they wouldn't be a bad idea to kind of get some guys to shore it up if there's injuries because their secondary has been prone to some injuries. So getting some guys that are ready to come in and play, maybe a little bit of linebacker help, but I mean it's hard to nitpick about this Chiefs team. Um, I do think that they could use a big body wide receiver, someone who's faster than Kelsey, because they've been using Kelsey as their big body guy. But I mean, you're not going to send him streaking on the field. So um, yeah, it's hard to get nitpicky, but I think you're right. Um, but they'll be right. They'll be right back here next year, regardless of what they do. But a lot of the guys they've been getting, guys like McKinnon, Pringle, McCole Hardman, who I think is actually pretty decent, but just needs a little bit more time and more attention on that offense to kind of see what his potential is. But they kind of look at these guys and say, okay, this guy's fast. Um, we, since he's fast, we can't teach speed, so we'll just teach him everything else. They're picking guys that uh, already have that blazing speed and are super quick on their feet, and they say we'll help you with catching, we'll help you with route running. That's stuff we can teach you how to do and help you improve on, but we can't necessarily teach you that raw speed that you're just naturally gifted with. So um, and that fits their system well. But yeah, they'll be around for a while, and I'm looking forward to seeing Cincy play in the Super Bowl for the first time since '88. So pretty cool. On the other side, the Rams and Niners played again. The Niners had won the last 6 games against the Rams. They had won the Week 18 matchup in overtime in LA to get into the playoffs. The Niners did, and so they had a little bit of momentum. It was weird looking at the stadium because the Rams are still working on getting that strong fan base back in LA since their move from St. Louis several years ago. And Niners fans have been out there forever, obviously. So there was a lot of red in that crowd. It was kind of crazy to see, and it almost felt like it was kind of like a neutral site almost, even though it was a Rams home game because of how loud it got when the Rams were on offense on third downs, and it was kind of crazy to see. It felt like it was like a Super Bowl before Super Bowl because it was like a neutral site kind of thing in the same stadium. But um, Stafford came to play. Um, I'm as a Detroit Lions guy, I'm super happy for him. Um, I some people are like, oh, you shouldn't care anymore since you're not on the Lions, and uh, he gives so many years to us. I couldn't be happier for him. So I'm pulling from the rest of the way. I want to see him get that ring. It'd be pretty cool. Um, I saw someone say that Stafford playing the Super Bowl and Eminem performing at halftime. It's just like it's Detroit closest to ever get to the Super Bowl. So, I mean, the Lions are going to be there for a while, so I guess I'll take it. But yeah, Cooper Cup with a great game as always. Odell really stepped up in that second receiver spot. People didn't really talk about them losing Robert Woods and how much that affected their offense, and Odell just kind of fit in there seamlessly. Um, him and T. Higgins are in both the games. I noticed they were these guys. They were the secondary receivers, and their hands were just absolute glue. I mean, both Burrow and Stafford were throwing these rockets to these guys on like third downs in these tight situations, and the ball was just sticking to them. And I looked at that and I was like thinking about how strong these guys' hands are, because I know that would just fly right past me. But um, the only concern I'd have for the Rams is the run game was a little iffy. Cam Akers doesn't look like he's 100%, even though he's been back for a few weeks since his injury. He's been getting beat up a little bit here and there, and the O line's been a little questionable for the Rams too. So Cam Akers and the run game has been struggling, which could be a problem in the Super Bowl. But uh, I I see a lot more questions for the Niners here. They were up 17-7 going into the fourth quarter. Stafford did what he's done all these years, and he pulled off that comeback. And then the Rams defense, their pass rush, which we had not heard a lot from in that game until that last drive, just blew everything up. I think I saw Aaron Donald on the sideline before that last drive, hyping everybody up, and him and Von Miller just went crazy on that last position, blowing everything up, and Garoppolo had to just chuck a ball up and hope out, and it ended up so. What does it keep? One sec. That thing's glitching out on me. But what is going on? I'm sorry.
Oh, you're good. I was like,
Today. You still hear me?
yeah.
Okay. Um. But yeah, I mean, there's questions. I don't know what's gonna happen with Garoppolo. Uh, he didn't play necessarily a great game. Deebo Samuel did what he's done all year and just kind of kept that offense moving. And the receiving core was pretty decent for the Niners too. It was just Garoppolo. I just feel like wasn't taking them to that next level that can win the Super Bowl or win these close games against these really talented teams. And uh, it was it was down to the wire, but at the end, I think Garoppolo was just too much of a deficit for them in the end. And a lot of questions about where he'll be next year, if he'll even be there, because Trey Lance is just waiting for the opportunity. A lot of potential there, so stuff's up in the air. I don't see Garoppolo getting a whole lot better than what he is now. That kind of label on him as a younger prospect quarterback has kind of come and gone now. So um, a lot of questions for the Niners. I do think they have that good base there for a team that can continue to compete every year. Maybe next year they won't have to fight in as a sixth seed, and they'll be able to compete for the division and maybe get some home games in the playoffs. But uh, I think they also overperformed this year, similar to the Bengals. And I mean, they had the number 3 pick in the draft. They did trade for it, but they had number 3 pick in the draft. Um, so they obviously didn't think that they were gonna win a Super Bowl right now if they're doing that, and they ended up being one game away from it. But Sean McVay and the Rams did what they meant to do. It was 1 year ago from the day yesterday that they traded for Stafford, and then they ended up booking a ticket to the Super Bowl that same day, 1 year apart. So pretty cool. Couldn't be happier for Stafford, and I mean Odell's been grinding too. People were saying shout out to Odell Senior for ripping on the Browns and getting him out of Cleveland so he could go try and win a ring this year. Because you can tell that Odell was not the problem in Cleveland. It was Baker Mayfield was the problem, and because Odell has flourished in LA. with the Rams and Stafford throwing the ball to him. So I think this is going to be a great matchup in the Super Bowl. I don't even know who I'm going to pick yet, to be honest. I'm probably keep under wraps until we get to our Super Bowl prediction episode, which will be before the game, about a week and a half. But yeah, it was another great game, and we haven't really had a bad game in a couple weeks, so I'm not complaining too much.
No, the Rams finally exercised their demons, got that what seemed like elusive win over Shanahan and and the 49ers. I guess third time's a charm if you're LA. They always say, beating a team twice is easy, but the third time is a lot more difficult. And I think that was the case. I mean, I think 49ers fans are kind of flashing back to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago when they were up 10 late in the fourth quarter on that one. Had the Chiefs really on the ropes, and then they let the Chiefs off the hook, let them take the lead, and then Garoppolo threw that pick to end the game. Similar situation here. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm a Jimmy Garoppolo fan. I was on him. I was riding high with him these last couple of weeks. I thought he got a lot of unneeded and unnecessary hate against Green Bay because he played good enough late in the game for them to win the game. That's all you can really ask for. But yeah, I mean, in this game, he had the 2 touchdown passes, but really the last 2 or 3 drives of the game, he played horrible. The interception, I mean, I get just trying to make a play and not taking a sack, but I mean, they shouldn't have got to that point. They were up 10 going into the fourth quarter. You got to win those football games. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the Rams because Matt Stafford has looked tremendous all playoffs. I mean, again, all the pressure was on him last week in Tampa Bay. He had the throw of his life to Cooper Kupp when he needed it most. Play after play after play against the 49ers. That crazy pass rush, their really good defense. He hung in there, made some really big throws. And I think I was reading a stat that popped up on the TV that was Odell Beckham Jr.'s first 100-yard receiving game since 2019, which is kind of crazy to think because, I mean, Odell Beckham Jr., we were growing up during the one-handed catch in Dallas. And, I mean, that's one of the plays I'll always remember forever. I mean, he had tremendous breakout like 2 or 3 years at the beginning of his career with the Giants. But I mean, the Rams offense, Cooper Kupp is amazing. And obviously Odell Beckham Jr. has helped fill the void that Robert Woods left. But yeah, I mean, Matt Stafford played incredible in this game. I mean, I think he's like 5th all time in comeback drives or game-winning drives. So, I mean, who else would you really want under center other than obviously like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning? But they're obviously gone at that point. Peyton Manning retired. Tom Brady, I guess just coming back for a spite season because someone leaked the news early. But no, Matt Stafford played great, and that fourth quarter was really the key reason that the Rams were able to get back into the ball game and then take the lead, and then that defense shut them down. I mean, you saw Aaron Donald after the hit on Garoppolo that forced him into the pick, tapping his finger for the ring. He's hungry. And I think during the broadcast they were saying that he's a pretty quiet guy generally and doesn't usually yell or say anything to his teammates, but you saw him on the sideline yelling, hyping everybody up. And I mean, I think it's just he's a tremendous player. The Rams defense is incredible. Getting Von Miller to pair with Leonard Floyd on the outside and Aaron Donald in the middle, and then to have a lockdown corner like Ramsey on the outside it's crazy to think about the wealth of riches that they have in LA. And yeah, I mean, tight football game. I thought that the game was I thought that the game was over when Stafford just kind of heaved that ball down the middle of the field, and I think it was Tart for the Niners had it in his hands and dropped it. And I mean, It would be interesting to see what would have happened had he come down with that football if San Francisco was able to run out the clock and just kind of ball control their way to the Super Bowl. But I mean, I'm happy that the Rams made it. Obviously we're both NFC North guys, but I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. I'm going to make a little bit of a bold prediction. I honestly think that with as talented of a quarterback as Matt Stafford is and as how he's looked this year in LA, if he wasn't stuck in Detroit his entire career, I don't know what kind of career he would have had. But I mean, if he wins a Super Bowl in his first year in LA, I don't think it's crazy outside the realm of possibility that I think he has a better. I mean, because when you look at like numbers wise, I think he compares pretty well to some of those like to the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, the Aaron Rodgers, the Tom Brady, all that. Yeah, I don't think he would have had a better career than Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, obviously, but I do think he would have a couple Super Bowls by now, and I think people would be looking at him as one of the all time greats. I mean, you put Aaron Rodgers in that category, but I think Matt Stafford would have more Super Bowls and more individual accolades than Aaron Rodgers. That's just me personally. I really think he does. He's an incredible talent, and I mean the way he's looked in LA this year. I think if he could have got out of Detroit a couple years ago when he was still more in his prime or a little bit younger, it would have been insane to see what he could have done after the way he's looked this year. But I mean, shout out credit to the Rams and McVay for coming up with a game plan, able to make a push there in the fourth quarter, get the game tied, and then Stafford leading him down the field for the field goal. And they're going back to the Super Bowl. Let's hope that this is a lot different than the stinker that McVay put up the last time they got into the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Good Lord, that Super Bowl was boring. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I think it's a fitting end to a pretty crazy NFL season and a pretty crazy playoffs that two sort of under the radar, unexpected teams were able to make it. I like seeing new teams in there. I hate seeing the same teams play every single year. As much as I would have loved to have seen the Niners get back in the Super Bowl, I'm happy that it's Bengals and Rams. And I think yeah. I mean, one of these guys is going to come away with their first Super Bowl, and it's going to be a legacy definer. Really, you hear that word tossed around a lot, but I mean, if Joe Burrow is able to win a Super Bowl in his second year as an NFL player, and then on Stafford's side, if he's able to go to a new team after spending 10 plus years in Detroit, able to put together an MVP caliber season, win 3 games in the playoffs, and then make the Super Bowl and win it. I mean, it's going to go a long way to help his overall career legacy. And I'm excited for the game. I really am. I think it's going to be an incredible Super Bowl. Both these teams' offenses score at a high pace. I think the X factor is going to be, obviously, again, how does that Bengals offensive line stack up against that incredible pass rush? But I mean, you've seen it the last 3 games. I mean, the Raiders had a good pass rush. The Titans defense was terrific. And I mean, Kansas City has some dogs up front. Chris Jones, Frank Clark. And I mean, Joe Burrow's handled it time and time again. He just keeps passing the test. And I mean, if he can hang in there and make those throws against the Rams pass rush and take some of those shots and make plays with his legs, get out of the pocket and extend it, you give them I mean, they have as good a chance as anybody. I mean, the 49ers don't have that elite of a quarterback, and they had the Rams on the ropes for really three and a half quarters. Mm-hmm. So I mean, if Cincinnati goes out there and can build a lead early, I would worry for LA. I really worried because I mean I don't think you're going to be able to rely on Jimmy G's ineptitude at points and inability to make big plays because you got Joe Burrow under center. I mean you can't leave it in the hands of him to make a mistake because he just hasn't shown the ability to not be clutch. I mean what he's done this postseason has been incredible, but yeah, I mean it's really been an incredible playoffs, and I really don't think anybody could have asked for anything different.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you're right about the X factor there being that Bengals O-line with the pass rush. I don't know if I necessarily say I would count the Rams if they needed to come back, but it's it would be pretty difficult with how well the Bengals offense has been playing so far. But I feel like a lot of people really undervalued Stafford being in Detroit for so long. I mean, I remember obviously I'd watch the Lions games because I'm a fan, but they would suck. But every year they would show when he would get to a new age that he'd be, he's the youngest. He has the most yards at this age as for like a quarterback, and he was doing it like every single year, 25, 26, 27. Every single year he had the most yards for a quarterback this age or younger, and there's and all the comebacks he's created for that Lions team that really didn't have anything super crazy on it, um, and I'm beyond happy that he's getting his chance to show everyone. I do think you're right. I think if he was on a different team, his storyline could have been a lot different. But you could say the same thing about Calvin and Barry Sanders and stuff too. So it's kind of the unfortunate way of the Lions, but um, yeah, I'm beyond happy for him. I can't tell you how many people I've seen that are Lions fans that have been rooting for Stafford, getting Stafford Ram jerseys. I mean, they've been going all out for supporting the guy. So it's almost like an extension of the Lions at this point. But yeah, I mean, he's deserved it. So it's been fun to watch him, and I'll be pulling for him in the Super Bowl. But yeah, we'll dive into more Super Bowl talk, and kind of our analysis of everything and stuff when we get to that point. Um, we still have 2 weeks till the game, so there'll be a lot of hype talk and everything going on around that. You did mention the Brady news a little bit there. I wasn't going to bring it out necessarily yet because um, everything seems really shady about it. I mean, a lot of people were reporting that he retired, and then the Bucks came out, and Brady's dad came out, and everybody, and they were like he didn't make a decision at all yet. I'm like, you guys are talking about who told you this? So I just assume at this point that someone leaked out information that they shouldn't have, or tried to start up a fake rumor, and it was a reliable source who tried to do it because maybe they got paid off. I don't know, but it's really a situation that's really shady and a little bit confusing. Um, Brady on his podcast today came out and said he's taking it day by day, and he is not near the decision yet. And once it's time, he'll know when it's time. So I wouldn't be hanging on those words yet. I know I saw Adam Schefter was the first one to break it on for ESPN, and everyone in the comments for every post he made after that was like, "Sources? Are you sure?" Because it was just like, this is one of like the biggest news stories of the year if it's true, and we're not even sure if it was true. It didn't seem like it was. So it's something to keep an eye out for. I'm sure we'll hear something in the coming weeks. Probably after the Super Bowl will be my guess, because he doesn't want to take the shine away from those guys. Kind of let that happen, let stuff simmer down a little bit from the Super Bowl, and then he'll come out and say that will be my guess. But at this point, I'm not believing anything until Brady says it himself. So it's been a really confusing situation, and I know I was shocked. I was actually taking a shower, and I got out of the shower and checked my phone, and it just said Tom Brady retires in all caps with like the red siren on it, and I was like, "Hello!" Like, then I went to Brady's socials, and he hadn't posted anything in a couple of days. So really weird situation. I one more thing too about that. I saw on Saturday night, I was watching the Kentucky-Kansas basketball game, and at halftime they had Schefter come on, even though it was for a college basketball game, and talk a little bit. And the broadcast guy was like, "Art, like, so just to confirm, you're standing by this news?" And I mean, at that point, he kind of has to, because if he says no, then I mean, it makes him look like he's not credible. So, but yeah, really weird situation, and I almost feel kind of bad for Brady that this is happening, because he should be able to announce it when he wants to, on his own terms, and how he wants to do it. Um, if he is retiring, I mean, that would really suck that it got leaked, and then there's these rolling rumors forever about it. Um, I know he wants the attention to be on the Bengals and the Rams, who have deserved to be in this spot, and yeah, just really weird situation. So I'm not really sure how to feel about it too much. So
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember I was kind of shocked. I almost didn't know what I was reading when I said that it was that I got the breaking news notification that he was retiring. I mean, just to show you how big of a deal it is. I mean, I got a breaking news notification from ESPN tonight for an interview that Tom Brady said he's taking it day by day on his retirement. I mean, I mean, it really did lit the lit light lit lit the
Okay.
sports world on fire on Saturday. And I mean, it's obviously a huge deal. I mean, it's the greatest quarterback of all time, hanging up his cleats and calling it quits. And I mean, I think at this point, honestly, all this, is he retiring? Is he not retiring? I think knowing just how Tom Brady is, as just watching him on the field, I could 100% see a spite season coming back from him. He's like, everyone's saying I'm done. Let me just go ahead, come back one more year, see what I got left in me. And I mean, it wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, look what he went out on this year. He led the league in passing yards, led the league in touchdowns at 45 years old. It's incredible what he continues to do at that age. And I think I don't know what other milestones there really are for him to chase, but if there was any added motivation or needed motivation, I think this could potentially be it to come back. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it was a very weird situation. You don't see Adam Schefter get misinformation or be wrong all that often. It's kind of like him and Woj. What they say, it's kind of like you take it for what it is. And I mean, that's obviously they've done incredible work through both of their careers. Woj on the basketball side and Schefter on the NFL side. But I mean, that was weird because I in the span of like 2 hours, it was Tom Brady's retiring, and then it was Tom Brady's not retiring. But yeah, I do agree. I think he's going to wait until after the Super Bowl to make his decision. I mean, he's in no rush. There's another 7-8 months until the NFL season starts anyway. No need to rush. I mean, this is a big decision. I mean, it's walking away from a sport he's known for 20 plus years, just playing in the NFL. I mean, he's been playing it for 35 years, all the way back to when he was a kid. So I mean, it's tough to make that decision. They take time, but I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, and it does sound like in some of these interviews when he was talking about how his wife doesn't like him taking some of these hits and just some of the stuff he says, it makes you think like he could be leaning towards a retirement. Just because, I mean, I was talking about what else does the guy need to do in the sport? I mean, he's won 7 Super Bowls. He left New England, went to Tampa Bay, won the Super Bowl in his first year. This year they were the number 2 seed. Another trip to the divisional playoffs, Super Bowl aspirations. I think he proved he could win without Belichick. He's broken all the records, and he's just further cemented himself as the greatest quarterback and arguably one of the greatest athletes of all time. And it's just remarkable to think where he came from. I mean, he was a 6th-round pick, an afterthought from Michigan. I mean, you look at the draft when he was drafted, some of the guys drafted ahead of him you've never even heard of
Yeah.
ever. I mean, other than Chad Pennington for the Jets, none of those guys you'd heard of. And for him to go from a 6th-round draft pick to the greatest football player of all time, it's incredible. And if it is the end of his career, it's the end of a heck of an era, and it's going to be weird not seeing TB12 under center for any team next year. I mean, he's been a quarterback in the NFL for my entire lifetime, really. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy to think that it's his career's winding down. And yeah, I mean, whatever decision he makes, I definitely think it's going to come in the coming weeks, and it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be. It was weird. Like as soon as you said that you saw his social media that he didn't post anything, Tom Brady's not going to do that. There's going to be. I mean, you saw Big Ben Roethlisberger, not really a outgoing social media guy. He posted a retirement video. You've got to expect something along those lines from Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. He's been a lot more active on social media too, Instagram and Twitter and stuff, than he was in years past, and he didn't even have stuff for a while, until recently. But yeah, I mean, when we know, we'll know. It's not going to be up for debate, and I think this is kind of it's one of the things where he's at this age now. He's 44 years old, but um, I mean, it's almost like we'd still be surprised if he retired at this point, which seems weird for a 44-year-old football player. I mean, almost every other player that ends up retiring, we're like, we can see this coming. But with Brady, I mean, now we can kind of see it because of the rumors out and everything that came out. But you can still say that he can go out there and be one of the best players in the sport. And he's that old. I mean, with Big Ben, the last couple of years we were like waiting for what year he's gonna pick to retire because every year he was just slowing down more and wasn't himself on the football field anymore and worried about his health and stuff. He had so many injuries throughout his career that it got to the point where it was like, what year is he gonna choose to finally hang it up? And he finally did this year. But yeah, weird situation. So if he does retire, uh, we'll have a whole thing about it probably on here. But and if he comes back, then then we'll talk about this whole controversy and everything too. So um, yeah, a lot of football stuff going on. But is there anything else you want to bring up regarding Brady or any of these games this past weekend? Or 'cause I know we're gonna say some more stuff for a Super Bowl episode later, but
I know it's going to be weird. I don't know what I'm going to do with a weekend without football. I'm just going to be looking forward to the Super Bowl. But no, I mean, I think, yeah, it's a lot of news coming. I expect a couple more head coaching hires over the last couple of days. I expect that to all those vacancies to be filled probably by the end of the week. It seems that's the way it's trending. I mean, I feel like the water's kind of getting shallower in terms of potential candidates and everybody. I mean, when teams start to run 2 or 3 interviews with the same guy, I mean, what else can that guy say to you at that point to not to convince you otherwise? So I think we're going to expect some big news there in the coming days. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be a heck of an offseason to see what some of these teams do. And looking forward to that Super Bowl matchup. Like you said, yeah, we'll have the Super Bowl predictions here in a couple of days, and then obviously we'll react to the game when it comes out. But I mean, rest of the week, probably sprinkle in some more NBA stuff. If there's any MLB news, we'll get to that as well. Just going to try and keep bouncing around, showing you guys we're more than football. We've got a couple strong suits here. Baseball, not so much, but I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, exciting stuff, exciting times, and I mean, we'll definitely if Brady does announce the retirement, we'll have some. I'm sure we'll have some fun segments to talk about that. But yeah, I mean, just yeah, we're spoiled. We got such good football here for 3 weeks in a row. It's going to be weird to go a weekend without football and then the biggest game of the year and then 9 months without it. I think we're going to be in for a long 9 months, Eric.
yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, um, but yeah, I'm thinking we'll come back later this week. I believe Thursday they're announcing the reserves for the All Star game, so that could spark up some debate too. See, because we mentioned the last episode about guys that we think might get snubbed that shouldn't get. So we'll probably jump on that when it comes out on Thursday. But anything else that's happening too, we'll make sure to stay on top of stuff and make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at GoneProPod. We'll be posting on there. I need to post a little more than I do right now, but I have been posting all the episodes when they go live on there, so you can make sure to check that out. And if you want to message us or whatever, I mean, I promise we don't bite. So um, we'll talk about whatever you guys want to hear. So yeah, I think that about wraps everything up. Thank you guys for listening. As always, we appreciate all your support. And again, make sure you follow us, and we'll let you know when we're coming out with the next one later this week. So excuse me again. Thank you guys, and have a good one.